With the release of Uncharted the movie later on in the week, I thought I'd talk about one of the games in the Uncharted franchise because it's one that I really love. And with the release of the Legacy of Thieves Collection that happened earlier in January, I thought I'd talk about Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. At the time of its release in 2016, it got a lot of critical acclaim. It won many Game of the Year awards. In fact, it was the game that won the most Game of the Year awards that particular year, and it's often considered a very satisfying conclusion to Nathan Drake's journey. This is not going to be a review of the game per se, because I feel like everything that has to be said about the game has pretty much been said over the last few years. This is more like a retrospective. I'm going to talk about what I feel about the game, and having just played it again on the PlayStation 5, if my feelings towards it have changed in any such way, and what I can expect going forward, especially with the movie that's about to come out, which I have not seen yet. I do apologize for that. Uncharted 4 essentially covers the story of Nathan's brother Sam. You finally get introduced to this character and you realize that he's always had a knack for trouble, but more so a knack for adventure. He's always wanted to find all kinds of different treasures across the world, and eventually he sets his sights on something that was a treasure buried many years ago by a pirate named Henry Avery. Things go horribly wrong and the entire heist goes south. And many years later, when Sam comes back, he's like, oh, actually, I need to find this thing now. Suddenly, they're in a race against time to find out what happened to the treasure, which leads them across a cross-country journey and into a lot of crazy places with a lot of gunfire and a lot of different threat levels. I got a PlayStation 4 much later in the game, and so as a result of that, I didn't play Uncharted 4 for a long time. I eventually did as a part of the entire collection. I ended up playing all 4 games pretty much in succession, and I had such a blast with Nathan Drake's arc. From the very first game all the way till Uncharted 4, there is such a fulfilling character arc for Nathan Drake, and Nolan North, who portrays him, does such a great job of bringing him to life. But when you get to Uncharted 4, it's very interesting seeing this character because he's essentially done. He doesn't want anything more to do with whatever's happened in the past. He just wants to sort of move on. He wants to settle down and not have to really think about, risking his life over and over again. He's with Alina now, who he's married, and so things seem to be going okay. So when Sam comes knocking back into his life, the journey that it takes you on is one that's both exciting but also like, come on, we're doing this again. And it almost feels like he doesn't want to do this anymore. He wants to get out of this. Although part of him also knows that he can't quite escape this life, and eventually, as tensions rise and things become crazier, he's starting to enjoy it a bit, and it's kind of hard to let that go. I really love the fact that this game explores the other side of things, what this does, because up until 3, it was fun to witness all the adventures taking place, but eventually there comes a point where you have to say, stop. Enough is enough. Here's the time to move on. And many times in this game too, as you're searching for this treasure, there'll be moments where characters are like, listen, we're kind of done here. You really need to know when to quit ahead of yourself, because if you keep going down this road, you're gonna die. Because there's gonna be people who will constantly keep coming after you. They'll keep trying to fire at you. They'll keep trying to do all kinds of things. But you have to know the exit. And the fact that this game explores that aspect, especially with Alina in the second half of it, I thought was really well done. And Sam's relationship with Nathan, whether it be the younger self that we get in a few flashbacks or the older version played by Troy Baker, all of that stuff is brilliantly realized, and it leads to a terrific game. Let's talk about the gameplay on the PS5 itself. There are improvements for sure. There is a 60 FPS version, which is very smooth, very slick. There's some really great stuff, especially with the feedback and the triggers, which I feel like I'm saying for every PS5 game now. But frankly, the technological advance that has been done with the controller is nothing short of phenomenal. And especially with things like Uncharted, where there's so much gunplay involved, being able to do things differently and being able to handle the game differently as a result of that, and also being able to be more immersed in it as a result, is pretty awesome. As a company, Naughty Dog has always been really great at doing that, especially with these bigger narrative games that they have, which whether it be this or the Last of Us games, is that level of immersion. You feel like you're within the thing, so if you take a hit or if you're in the middle of a high stakes situation, you feel like you're in that high stakes situation. It's not just Nathan or Joel or Ellie or someone like that, or also Chloe Fraser. You're in this scenario where it feels like you're being shot at. And the extra level of immersion that this new technology now adds to it is to be praised. So yes, there are definitely moments that feel a little more realistic as a result of that. There are some visual upticks that have been done for sure. It looks a little more crisper and more colorful than the original release did, so there's definitely that to look forward to if you play it again. And there is some smoothing of things that has been done with the game. I didn't really find any glitch with it as I was playing it either. I thought it all worked really, really well. And as an experience in terms of playing it, it was great to play it again because I like the game more now. I loved the first time I played it. I thought it was really great, but Uncharted 2 Among Thieves was still my favorite, and I thought this one fell short a little bit of that. I still think 2 is maybe the best one of the lot, but this one I like a little more now because I took some more time to essentially take it in and to be able to process certain moments a little bit more. Maybe because I figured it out, or maybe because I know certain puzzles and solutions a little bit now so that I know how to get past certain things and stuff like that. I think all of those things are handled really, really well. But the narrative is really what you come back for. And the narrative works a lot better in retrospective, especially when you get to points later when Sam tries to tell you that, oh, actually, this entire thing that I made up, it doesn't really exist. There is no one who's trying to get money out of me. That guy kind of died. I'm just in it for the treasure. And so when Nathan's life has already been upended, that moment of betrayal hits a little bit more. And I think that works better on multiple plays, especially when you go back to that point early on when you are playing Sam's escape through. It's like, oh, so that didn't really happen at all. That was all in his mind. How about that? You just played a story. Of course, in the first game that worked too, but it works a lot more in the second playthrough. And I love little moments like exploring Nathan's attic. I liked just having to shoot at different things with like a Nerf gun every now and then, or seeing the different things that he's collected over the years and reminiscing, and they would have little musical cues that would play over it as part of those particular games. I thought all of that was really, really well done. And eventually, as you're approaching the ending, the stuff that happens, especially with Rafe, the final boss battle with the swords, also all really, really great. Like I said, I don't really have to tell you that the game is great, even though I'm spending so much time talking about it, because the fact of the matter is, you've already talked about this game plenty over the years. This is just basically me wanting to talk about this because I saw that the movie was coming out and it was a great excuse to talk about it. And the fact of the matter is that I've come to love Uncharted so much. I love these characters. I love the world that they inhabit. I love the fascinating things you get to explore as a result of it. The different kinds of explorations you do in terms of historical moments and historical figures that may have existed. And some of them, all of them add something so wonderful to the entire experience. I like collecting little letters every now and then or something or the other that it points to something that someone may have said many, many years ago. I like the idea of that kind of experience. And it's more than just a game at that point. It becomes like this full-blown narrative, like a life that you're living out. And it's one of the reasons why going into the movie, whenever I end up seeing it, and I'll give you a review of that, I am hoping that they're able to capture some of that. I know some friends of mine have already seen the movie. You can check out their reviews as and when they go up online. Definitely give them some love and support. But yeah, I don't have to tell you more about this game because at the end of the day, I just want to talk about how much I like it. It's a visually gorgeous, beautifully scored. That Henry Jackman soundtrack is genuinely remarkable. The whole New Devon track is just absolute pure action adrenaline beauty. The way it's playing, the way the characters are developed. I want to talk about one scene before I let you guys go. One of my favorite moments in gaming. It's a quiet 1-minute moment where you are driving with Alina. You've just had this conversation about all the stuff that has led up to this point, about trying to hide things from her. And it's just this music playing, their romance theme, and you're just driving through right before the action kicks in again. It's one of my favorite moments, and I always tear up a little bit whenever I get to that point. It's just such a wonderfully realized segment of the game, and I'm glad that there was that little pause moment that they had in the middle of all of the action. It speaks volumes of just how much these game devs and the narratives and like the writers, they care about these personal connections that we build with them. But if you have not played Uncharted 4 by any chance, please do play it. It's a wonderful little game with some wonderful little details that'll make you want to come back for more. And that's all I really wanted to say about it. I think it's just It's fun to talk about Uncharted. Maybe I'll talk about the other series somewhere down the line. I'd like to talk about Lost Legacy as well, which I thought was a lot of fun. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Have you guys seen the Uncharted movie yet? I know it's out in a couple of countries. Let me know if you have the thoughts in the comments below. Let me know. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and happy gaming.